What's up everyone, OJ here, welcome back to another video. And with E3 a little bit over a month away, you guys know what time it is. It is the road to E3 here on PlayerEssence, where we break down what could happen, what should happen, and maybe what I think is going to happen when it comes down to it, going over all the different developers that Nintendo has, and also reaching out a little bit more when it comes to other games like Final Fantasy VII, other RPGs, stuff like that. So it's going to be really cool. So let's go ahead and lock right into this one. And we're starting off, like you guys see right here in the title, Monolith Soft, Road to E3. What's going down with this developer? What happened with them before? What's up with them now? What have we been hearing? The probability that they show up, and of course what I want. So let's go ahead and start off with the last game / games they've been doing. So the last we've heard of Monolith Soft, they worked on two pretty good games. You might have heard about them. It's called Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country. One of them was the base game and direct, somewhat sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 1. The other was an expansion and pretty much a prequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Both of them really good games. Of course, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 gets you way more content, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country is a more refined experience. The cool thing about both of these games is that you can still play them and they're still way more functional right now. They're so much better than they were at the launch than before. Not so much Torna the Golden Country, but with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if you pick it up now at this point, it's gotten so many updates and so many things added into the mix. It's so much better a game than it was when it first launched, when I was playing it back in 2017, and then there was just updates that they release pretty much each month. It's a fleshed out experience. It's pretty much done at this point. There's no more content that they're adding in. The last thing that we got was Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country. From the very beginning, that one didn't really have many things wrong with it or issues at all. It plays really good. It looks good. And everything's pretty much there. I think they had one update to address one of the missions or anything like that. But that's what they've been working on in terms of the past. But as you guys know, like stuff that they've been working on back then, because that was a 2017 late game, then also 2018 game. They've been working on something else since then. So let's go ahead and get into the next thing here, and that is what's up with Monolith Soft. What are they working on? So Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that was only developed by like a fraction of the team. You have to think about that just for a second, okay? About 40-something people with some outside artwork help from different developers in the Japanese gaming industry, while the rest of the development teams were working on different stuff. Some of them were helping out with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in terms of the open world and all of that, and some of the other teams working on other projects. And then you have the main team, Takahashi-san, and they've been working on stuff as well. So they've been recruiting in pretty crazy volumes. We've been seeing different job postings for Monolith Soft and urgent job postings for them and everything for the tier 1 team. That's Takahashi and his crew, and it seems like they are right in the midst of something big, and that's developing something that's going to be brand new for the Nintendo Switch, not necessarily a port or anything, with their tier 1 or their team 1 studio, Takahashi-san and everything. I think that there's definitely something up, and E3 could be leading up to that. They've been trying to fill multiple different positions pretty much everywhere across the board when it comes to the programming, when it comes to art, everything. And usually what that means is that there's so much work going on because they're working on a new project that they really need to help out so their team isn't run thin. This is a good thing. Some people always ask, well, is it a good or bad thing that they need more help? No, it's something that it's good. Like if they're trying to hire more people, one, they have the resources and funds to do so, but two, it's because they don't want to stretch people thin. That's another thing. You don't want to be there working like 20-hour days or whatever the case is and being stretched thin, which could lead to problems in the development of the game and of course the mental health of the studio. So it's always good if you get new people in and if you can get some more people to help out so you're not stretched thin with your talent that you do have. Also, another thing to notice here, guys, is that Monolith Soft opened up their 5th development studio in Japan this year. So that's absolutely crazy. Now, I would think some of them are dedicated to helping out with Nintendo projects and working on other little things. So it's not like we're going to get like 5 different games and all of them are to the level of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or something like that. So don't think of it that way. But then again, at the same time, it's always good to have those extra teams to help out with other things and even potentially resurrect franchises that we haven't seen before from them, right? There's some stuff that Monolith Soft has done in the past. Maybe it's an outreach to work with developers like Bandai Namco or publishers like Bandai Namco to potentially bring back some of the older stuff Like, let's say Xenosaga, for example. That'd be pretty cool, right? If you can get like a Xenosaga HD and that team was dedicated to working on some of their older stuff and bringing that back, I think that would be really cool, and E3 would be a great time to announce something like that, because people have been wanting a Xenosaga HD or a remake of the original Xenosaga. We got Cosmos in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as a Blade. We got T. Elos as well, both from Xenosaga. So I think maybe it's time we kind of bring them back in some way, shape, or form. So let's talk about some of the scuttlebutt or rumors that have been going around and stuff that Monolith Soft has also talked about just briefly as well. So Xenoblade Chronicles X. That's the big thing here that a lot of people are talking about, and Monolith Soft has even commented on themselves, in addition to there being some rumors going around there even before like the Switch even launched and all that, and even during it, that there could be a Xenoblade Chronicles X port and also a sequel as well, because, you know, it kind of did end on a cliffhanger, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X port, that's kind of what people have been talking about. But there's also even talk about them potentially working on a Legend of Zelda game. There's been some theories thrown around there. There's been some new IP stuff thrown around as well. But with the amount of development studios and teams that Monolith Soft does have, I think it's very possible that all of these things could come. Maybe not at E3, but maybe one or two of them is announced there. So let's talk about the probability or chances of Monolith Soft even being at E3, because all of this stuff is nice, right? All the stuff that we're talking about is cool, but at the same time, are they actually going to be there? What are the probability? And I would say somewhat high, and here are my reasons why the probability is somewhat high. One, the original Xenoblade, believe it or not, was actually shown off at E3 briefly. I think back in like 2009 they showed it off, but I don't think they called it Xenoblade exactly, but I know they called it something like the Monado Blade or something like that. They might have called it Xenoblade. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have it up here on the screen for you guys, but back then people didn't know what it was. I mean, Nintendo had just acquired Monolith Soft and they just weren't known like they are known now at this point. So people didn't really think about it, but then once it came out, obviously there was a big push for it with the Operation Rainfall and everything. But that was originally showed up. The first time anybody saw it was at E3. You also have to look at various different times that they showed off Xenoblade Chronicles X at E3. That was like at multiple different E3s where they had like a brand new trailer or something that they did show off. So Monolith Soft has shown their games at E3 before and multiple E3s. So I do think that it's very possible that it's high that we could see one or two projects from Monolith Soft over at E3. And once again, coming up very soon here, early-ish June when it comes down to it. So yeah, I think that is definitely a probability because they've been there before, and Monolith Soft and E3, it's just hype, right? When it comes to Monolith Soft, they're not like the biggest developer that Nintendo has when it comes to game sales or anything like that, but they do bring the hype for the core gamers that are watching, and they always make visually pleasing and just in-depth games that you know that the hardcore E3 gamer out there or the hardcore Nintendo fan is definitely going to tune into and get hyped for. So it makes sense. It makes sense that they could potentially be showing something off at this year's E3 since, right, they've been done for a while now when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna, the Golden Country. Now let's talk about what I actually want coming up here. So one, I'd love to see a couple different things here. One, port of Xenoblade Chronicles X to the Nintendo Switch, fixing some of the control quirks that I had with the game. The issues with it is just because, like, if you want to use a Pro controller in Xenoblade Chronicles X, you can use one, but there's a lot of stuff mapped to the Wii U gamepad. So you have to use two controllers instead of just one controller. And I don't think that's a good idea, and using two controllers instead of one controller. I think that you should be able to auto map some of the stuff to be on the screen, right? So if you want to do like the mining and all that stuff, there should just be an overlay on top of the screen. If you're using a Pro controller, there should be a toggle back and forth. Not that you have to use two controllers in order to play the game. If your gamepad breaks, then what? Which we've seen before. I actually have some people here that told me, yeah, my gamepad broke or whatever the case was, and I couldn't play Xenoblade Chronicles X till I shipped in my gamepad, had them fix it, then shipped it back. So that is unfortunate, and there's just a lot of people out there who haven't been able to experience the game because it was a late Nintendo Wii U game, and the Wii U obviously just didn't sell enough. So I would definitely want a port of Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch, and it just fits the system so much, right? With the portability, that huge open world style of game, so many side quests and everything, I think it would be fantastic to have as a port on the Nintendo Switch. Now, the next thing that I'd like to see is a full sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles X, since the game ended on a huge cliffhanger. No spoilers here, but if you played Xenoblade Chronicles X, you know what I'm talking about. And I think that these two kind of set up like how Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 was announced at the Game Awards in 2017. They're like, Bayonetta 1 and 2 is coming. Oh, wait a minute, we've got one more thing. And then Bayonetta 3. So what if they announced a Xenoblade Chronicles, the original, and also Xenoblade Chronicles X? Both of those will be put in a double pack coming over to the Nintendo Switch, and then one more thing, Xenoblade Chronicles X2. That would be probably the most hype announcement of E3 for a lot of people out there, because the Switch needs some more Xeno goodness. We've got it, right, with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country, but a little bit more never hurts. And especially if we got some of these much requested games to be brought over and made to look a little bit better and run better, that would just be awesome if they could do so. Now let's talk about what actually could happen outside of what I'm talking about here. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is definitely a possibility. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did really well. Xenoblade Chronicles, you can just continue on right there and kind of have it be a whole different theme than loosely connected to the Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 if you want to do so. Or it could be a brand new IP like we've talked about multiple times here, with some of that artwork and more of that fantasy setting where some people said, hey, maybe this is a Legend of Zelda type of thing. So I do feel that it could be either one of those two. It could easily lean to those more so than a Xenoblade Chronicles X port and also a Xenoblade Chronicles X2. I know Takahashi-san said that Xenoblade Chronicles X, a port of that, would be very costly, but they're opening up another studio. So is he worried about money? Is he not worried about money? What's going on here? You're talking about it'd be very costly, yet you're opening up whole new studios and buildings, and obviously that costs a lot of money too. So I think that he's definitely maybe playing just a bit coy on that one, and we'll have to wait and see. Maybe that new studio is for porting over some of their older content to the Nintendo Switch, because they just hit it off big with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torn of the Golden Country. So what do you guys think about Monolith Soft and what's going down? What's up with them? What do you think about some of the rumors? What's the probability, and what do you want to see from Monolith Soft at E3? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.